Hey, what's going on everyone? Supreme Common here. So today we're going to be doing some comparison on whether you guys should summon on the new Nu Gundam for the alternation tool. I know many of you guys should already, well, new players that might not have this the version called of the Nu Gundam, but I'll be doing a stat comparison and as well as EX skill portrait to see whether you guys should summon for the alternation tool. So this video, just a warning, it might be a little bit longer because I am comparing on the screen the newer version of the Nu Gundam versus this one. So let's begin with the head. We're just gonna quickly go over the stat. And in terms of stat wise, obviously we're looking at higher stats with the version Ka, but you are gonna be lacking a good EX skill because what is this, like the head broken are always bad. So this one, if you guys gonna do a shot build and you want to double up on the head, you guys are gonna be losing out on that EX skill, but you're gonna be gaining a stat. But in today's meta, portrait is really important because if you do like alternation portrait, you're gonna be getting double. So you're gonna be missing out two good important portrait like you see on the P version over here. So I'm not gonna go over the P type, but this is just a general idea that if you're gonna be lacking some good stat, even though you on paper you are gonna be getting good stat on here because getting close. If you subslot this one, you're probably looking at like a 12k shot attack, but you're losing out some percentage for those portraits. So this is probably not gonna be the best bet if you're looking to build. If you want to have some pretty good portrait, so this one is say no for alternation. Moving on to the chest, let's see, let me pull up on the website here as well. Okay, let's max everything out. Let's see. So the chest does host a better stat throughout for the version Ka. As you can see, we're looking at 3,600, while the other one is only 3,300. This one also has better defense, so if you're gonna do your change gear, that 30% is gonna be pretty clutch. In terms of, we have an EX skill over here. So obviously alternation EX skill gonna be really good because they do have a better pierce. Sometimes they do have a better pierce, but most definitely they do have a better power boost. So that's gonna be one thing. So this one is good for alternation if you're looking for a good EX skill. I'm not gonna go over the, let's see. So here are the portrait for the P version. You guys can quickly take a look at that. I'm not gonna go in depth like I said again, just to keep everything concise with timing and whatnot. Now we can move over to the arm. Let's see what we're doing over here in terms of the arm. So first we're going to be looking at stat. Stat wise, the P version is slightly a little bit higher by 1,000 actually. So if you're doing basically on the parameter or the stat, obviously the P type is going to be winning over here. But let's take a look at the portrait. What are we doing here? So when armor is 40% or more, special shot attack boosted by 30%. Okay, and then we T attribute shooting power boosted by 35%. So the bottom part is pretty good, pretty generic, which is one of those better buffs. But the top part is one condition. So this one is when you guys are holding to charge that special attack. So this would probably take a good couple of seconds, which you will be locking the animation. So if you get attacked by your enemy, your charge stop and you have to redo that again. So the top part is probably gonna be one of the bad portrait you have on this one. So this one would be a no alteration as well. As you can see on the P type, we do have an EX skill, which is pretty good. Generally, this magazine that bump up to a B plus, they tend to do a good solid amount of damage. So this one will go to the P type over here. Now moving on to the leg. So keep in mind, this is just my general speculation and my own opinion because I do own both of these. Well, not too many for them. I'll go over the part that I have for the version Ka, but as well as for the P version of the Nu Gundam, I do own everything, so I can tell you guys right off the bat what kind of damage we're doing. So in terms of the leg, the version Ka has an EX skill, while the leg for the P version does not has a portrait. Quickly take a look at the stats. What are we doing in terms of stats? Obviously the P version holds a better attack stat, even though we have a better defense stat on the version Ka, keep in mind that you're only going to be getting 30% of that shot defense, so that might not reflect as good as the P version. So like I said, E skill is always going to be pretty good, as you can see. And over here, look at that spread, pretty good. In terms of the EX skill, you guys can quickly take a look at that. I am not going to like I said, I'm not going to go too in detail of it. So this one is pretty good. If you guys are looking for a good EX skill, even though this is a range shot build, but you can slap that onto your melee build, no problem. Just for sub-sliding purpose, not sub-sliding for your skin. This is gonna be your first skin and redoing for a melee build. Please don't put this on your shot build if you're gonna and use this EX skill. If you guys are, use the P type, because obviously two part trade. So moving on to the backpack, let's see. So the backpack I do own for both versions, the version Ka as well as the P type. This one is a final EX skill, while the other one is a custom EX skill. So the custom EX skill is one of those 120-second cooldown, and this I don't usually go in detail about the 60-second cooldown because I don't personally use them too much. This one doesn't shoot as much. If you're not getting it, the funnel doesn't shoot as much, even though there's 6 funnels. But when I personally use it, it doesn't shoot fast enough. It doesn't shoot rapid enough. So this one, even though it has pretty good spread, I don't know if this one will be a worthy candidate for alternation. Well, let's take a look at the stat over here. Obviously the stat of the version Ka is slightly higher, so if stat wise, probably have to go with the version Ka. But this one is pretty interesting because both of them host the same word tag. Let's see, right? Where's the word tag? Yeah, both of them hold the same word tag. If you do want to subslot it to both versions, you're looking at a 20.5% for that subslot parameter gain. But if you do the same part for subslot, you obviously going to be getting that 30.5%. So you're going to be losing a 10% stat overall. So keep that in mind if you want to alternate this one. And then moving on to the shield, I'm going to skip the rifle for a sec because the P version doesn't have it. So the shield, what are we doing for the shield? Okay, shield does host another one of those EX skill. Right off the bat, I can say that the P version, that beam gun is gonna do more damage than the overall of this one, because for this one, when you fire it, you're gonna be locked in the animation. So when I use it, 10 out of 5 times the enemy moves away from me, or like the angle is kind of wrong, you don't hit them. So this one is a hot skip in my opinion. But in terms of stat wise, you're looking pretty good. Pretty high shot defense over here, obviously. But if you look at the P type, you have a pretty good offense and defensive stats, so you're gonna be getting a more gain out of it. So this one is pretty good if you're doing let's say battle circuit, because there is that one mode where it's a switch mode. If you want to do a shot build, this one will be your best friend because you're getting the next 6,000 stats for your offensive stats, so that's gonna be pretty good. Okay, since the P type doesn't have a beam rifle, we can just go over to the T type and see what we're doing. Obviously pretty good shot attack over here, 11k. But let's take a look at the portrait first. So this one with T attributes, we are getting an EX skill boosted by 30%, which in today's meta, this is not considered too versatile. You have beam rifle, like the beam magnet from the Phoenix, that does, if you have for example word tag high firepower active, you're doing the same thing. So that's a lot more versatile. You can use it in any P, S, or T. That's pretty good. And then let's take a look at the second part trait over here. Melee down by 10%, shooting power boosted by 35%. So this is one of the more versatile ones. You can use it on any build. It's not really restrictive, so this one is pretty good. This one would have been a lot better if instead of putting a melee defense, they would have given it like a shot defense, so it can change gear that to shot attack. But overall, this is a pretty solid part to be use it on your T type build. Now, so this one, the T type doesn't have a beam saber, so I'm not gonna go over that on the P type. P type does have it, so here's the stat. You guys can just quickly take a look. So I will make a cut now, and then we'll go over to the Sazabi real quick. Okay, so now we're talking about Sazabi. I'll compare Sazabi with the Nightingale because I think they are the predecessor, right? Nightingale is the predecessor of Sazabi. I can't be wrong. I think there's maybe another unit, but let's see. Let's take a look at the head of the Sazabi. What are the stats and portrait? So stat wise, this Nightingale head is going to be slightly better, but in terms of portrait, let's read the portrait. Outrider enemy shooting power reduced by 30, and then back part EX skill boosted by 35%. So obviously the top part is geared towards like you'll be doing like arena, and you pilot your other two unit. This one can be a pretty good option, but in terms of just you want the most output, most damaging unit, this one is not gonna give you that good damage. Bottom part is pretty good. Second portrait is gonna be pretty useful, and then in terms of word tag, it's gonna be high firepower and close combat, which is pretty good if you're doing like a melee build. High firepower is pretty good. It's a pretty good word tag for that as well. And then you guys can just take a brief look at what we have for Nightingale. I think the Nightingale is pretty on the same realm. The second portrait is Garbo in a way, but the first word tag is gonna be pretty good. Now moving on to the chest. We're trying to speed up the review because we are looking at like around 12 to 11 minutes already, because Sazabi has 9 parts to go over. So let's take a look at the chest over here. Compare that with Nightingale. We have a major win obviously with the Sazabi over here. Pretty good overall status, much more higher than Nightingale. So this one would be a pretty good option for alternation. In terms of word tag, let's see if they have the same word tag. Yep, same word tag. So, and this one has the EX skill, which is gonna be, it's one of those longer type cooldown EX skill. So this one can be good or bad. I don't personally own this one, so if you guys do own the Sazabi chest, so let me know how is the output on this one. But with this splitter, we should be doing a pretty good solid amount of damage, so this one is a pretty good candidate for alternation. In terms of looking at the Nightingale, you guys can see Nightingale has one of those reduced enemy EX skill, which is not going to be good, but the second portrait will be pretty good. So the powers in your hand, if you guys do have both of them, if you guys do want a pretty good EX skill, this one can be a good candidate, because the Nightingale doesn't really have that good of a 2 word tag, only have one good one overall. Now let's move on to the arm. Let's see. Okay, the arm over here in terms of stat wise, okay, Nightingale has a better defense overall, but the Sazabi will have a better offensive stat, so that's gonna translate a little bit more better for the job. Even with the change gear of doing 30%, the Sazabi will still have a better melee stat excuse me, overall compared to the Nightingale, so that's pretty good. Now looking at the portrait over here, we have when armor is, so when your health is 70% or lower, melee power boosted by 30%, and then tech attribute shooting power boosted by 35%. So they have a little split over here, boosting melee and shooting. So the hard part is probably going to be rendered to useless if you are going into an event with full health, because you have to get below the threshold to activate that. So that's probably not something you can activate immediately, which is not good overall. Now we can take a look at the Nightingale. It's pretty, I think it will be a little bit better than the Sazabi overall. But stat wise, Sazabi is winning on this one, and this one I think they have the same word tag as well. So Sazabi is still in the lead for alternation, so this one is still a pretty good candidate overall. Now moving on to the leg. Hello, click. Okay, moving on to the leg. Let's see what we are doing. the leg does have the 9 game does have an EX skill, so EX skill, we can take a look. It's gonna be A plus and A minus, so it's gonna be a pretty powerful spread over here. So always alternation EX skill are pretty good. In terms of stat wise, Sazabi still winning by a smidge over here. So let's take a look at the part trait. When check attribute, EX skill cooldown reduced by 20%. With axe category equip, EX skill boost by 30%. So this one is similar to what 9 Gale has for the arm. I believe the arm has the same treatment when axe category equips, so that's gonna be pretty standard. This one does have a pretty good beam Tomahawk for both versions, so I think should be no problem activating that. The topper is really important. The EX skill reduced by 20%, so this one is a pretty potent part to pick up for alternation. So in terms of the word tag, I think they're both looking okay. So this one has a split. The other one has the 9 Gale has the heavy armor, and then this one has Xeons, which will increase both defense and melee. So this one is if you guys are rocking a Xeon word tag, this one can be pretty good. Other than that, this one will render to useless as well. Moving on to the backpack over here. So this one has an EX skill, while the 9 Gale does not, or does have an EX skill, and it looks like it's one of those cutscene EX skill. Okay, both of them are cutscene EX skills. So let's take a look at stat first. So stat is obviously much more higher again. So overall, Sazabi will be a pretty good pickup if I'm just comparing to 9 Gale, because both of them are from the same line. That's why I'm doing that. But there probably can be some better option for this. So let's see. So both of them is a cutscene EX skill, while this one does not offer any effects, while the 9 Gale does offer a 30% health restoration and a shooting power up by 20%. So the powers in your hand, when you guys are rocking cutscene EX skill, it's always nice to pack some health restoration as well as some stat boost. So the 9 Gale is doing a little bit much of a better job in that perspective. In terms of part trait, we are looking at heavy armor again for 9 Gale, so that's gonna be a pretty good another trend, another word tag over there. In terms of the Sazabi hat, let me take a look real quick back again. This one packs the ace exclusive, so that's gonna be boosting your shot attack, which this one is primarily, you can say it's a mix. Sazabi is a mix of pretty good output in terms of melee and shots. So the power it is in your hand to rather doing like a melee or shot build, but does have an option over there for the word tag. Now moving on to some weapons, not weapons yet. Let's move on to the shield first. Okay, so both of them packs the same kind of EX skill set over here. There's a small missile, while the other one had micro missile. So stat wise, what are the stats doing? Okay, the 9 Gale is obviously gonna be an elite over here. Wait, let me see. If you're talking purely for defensive value, the Sazabi is still in the lead because both melee and shot defense are in the same realm, so that's gonna be pretty good. And then we're also packing some melee attack stat as well, which 9 Gale does not offer, so that's pretty good as well. In terms of the EX skill, they're both looking at the same, so this one is just your personal preference, whether you have the Sazabi shield or the 9 Gale shield, because both of them are pretty good. In terms of word tag over here, ace exclusive is a little bit more easier to activate because there are a lot more parts that has ace exclusive, while heavy armor is a lot harder to get hold on. Pair that up with high firepower, so probably the powers in your hand, either one is a good pick for alternation. Now let's move on to what do we have over here. Let's see. Okay, let's move on to, let's just compare the axe because the other one doesn't have beam saber, but we will go over the beam saber later on. In terms of melee stat, obviously the beam Tomahawk for the Sazabi is in the big lead, but the Nightingale does offer a melee defensive stat, so that can translate with that change gear of a 30% to a melee stat, so melee offense stat. In terms of EX skill, this one is going to be pretty good. Always those alternation EX skill will be pretty good, so there's no doubt about that. You guys can quickly take a look at what the portrait offers for the Nightingale, and then we will move on to, let's move on to this one, the rifle now. Okay, let's see what are we doing over here. Okay, so the Nightingale does pack a better offensive stat for the beam rifle. This one is a long rifle, right? Yep, this one's a long rifle, so they are in a two different category. Keep that in mind. Overall, the Nightingale will have a better stat, but let's take a look at the portrait. With tech attribute, special shot crit rate up by 30%, and job gauge down 10%. Shooting power increased by 35%. So the top part is gonna be pretty bad overall. So it's better already that you have to charge that that shot, and then it's gonna crit rate. So this will probably be something that's not gonna be used too often. Well, if you guys take a look at the Nightingale, it does offer a more versatile portrait, so Nightingale for the win over here. And then we're just gonna do this one final check over here. This one is just the beam saber. Or tech wise, we're gonna be looking at high firepower and Xeon over here. So this one's gonna be, let's see, this one's gonna be a pretty good portrait, both of them. Tech attribute, you're looking at EX skill boost about 30%, while tech initial EX skill boost about 20%. So this one's gonna be really important if we want to get those EX skill out as soon as possible. So these are, like I said, are my recommendation on what to pick. Obviously you guys can pick whichever parts of alternation, but keep that in mind, you guys do have to summon for it. So powers in your hand, you guys have to probably do a few. They're nice part for the Sazabi, so if you guys are a fan of Sazabi, you have to do 9 multi summons to get that alternation tool, which is a little bit pricey. Keep that in mind, we should be getting a Soul Cat banner next week, so you guys can probably wait it out to see what we have first. As far as the Nu Gundam, the P version is obviously a little bit better than the version K, so like I said, powers in your hand. This is just my in-depth analysis of what should you guys summon or not. With that being said, I'll catch you guys all on the next one.